If you're studying for the FE Civil, the difference between candidates who do well and candidates who fall short isn't usually aptitude. It's pattern. The same 5 mistakes show up over and over in how people prepare. They're all preventable, but only if you know what they look like before you build your study plan. Here are the 5. Before we go through these, one quick thing. The FE Civil is a hard exam, but the people who struggle on it aren't usually the people who don't understand the material. Most of the time, the candidates who fall short walked into the exam having made one or more of these 5 mistakes during the months of study leading up to it. Aptitude is rarely the issue. Preparation pattern is. Mistake number 1. Studying topics in the order you're most comfortable with, instead of the order they appear on the exam. Most candidates spend the first few weeks reviewing math and statics because those feel familiar from school. Meanwhile, the topics that carry serious question weight, structural, geotechnical, transportation, water resources, construction, get pushed to the back of the study schedule. By the time you get to them, you're tired and your timeline is tight. The fix: open the NCEES exam specification, look at the question count for each of the 14 knowledge areas, and build your schedule starting with the heaviest weights, not the most familiar topics. Mistake number 2, treating the FE reference handbook like a backup resource instead of the primary tool. On exam day, the handbook is the only material you're allowed to use. It's an electronic PDF, searchable, and it's structured very differently from a textbook. Candidates who don't practice navigating it lose minutes on every problem just hunting for the right formula. The fix: use the handbook from week 1 of studying. Solve problems by finding the equations in the handbook, not by writing them from memory. By exam day, you should know which section your formula lives in before you start typing the search term. Mistake number 3, practicing untimed. Working through problems with no clock is good for learning a concept, but it teaches you nothing about the pacing pressure of the actual exam. The FE Civil gives you about 2.9 minutes per question on average. If your only practice mode is untimed, you're not training the skill the exam actually tests, which is solving problems under time pressure with imperfect information. The fix: once you've learned a topic conceptually, switch to timed problem sets. Set the clock at the per question pace and force yourself to move on when time runs out. That discomfort is the training. Mistake number 4, splitting your study time evenly across the 14 knowledge areas. They don't have equal weight on the exam, and they shouldn't have equal weight in your study plan. Some areas carry roughly twice as many questions as others. The wrong question to ask is, have I covered everything? The right question is, have I spent proportional time on what carries the most points? The fix: weight your study hours to match the exam blueprint. The 14 areas are not created equal, and your schedule shouldn't pretend they are. Mistake number 5, showing up to test day without ever having sat through a full-length timed practice exam. This is the most common one, and it's the most damaging. A full-length exam is 5 hours and 20 minutes of working time. Your stamina, your focus, your decision-making in the last hour. All of that is different from what you experience in a 45-minute study session. Candidates who don't do at least one full-length practice run have no idea how they'll feel at minute 280. The fix: take at least one full-length practice exam before the real thing. Even if you do it badly, especially if you do it badly. That's where you learn what your real bottleneck is. Here's the thing about these 5 mistakes. Most candidates who fall short didn't make just one. They made 2 or 3, and the effects compound. You study by comfort, you skip the handbook, you practice untimed. So when test day comes, you're navigating an unfamiliar handbook under pacing pressure you've never trained for, on topics you didn't study proportionally. That's not bad luck. That's a stack. So what do you do instead? Don't start with a study plan. Start with a diagnostic. Find out where you actually stand across the 14 knowledge areas. Which ones you can already solve, which ones need the most time, and which ones you didn't realize were going to be a problem. Then build your schedule from that data, not from what feels familiar. If you want to see where you stand right now, the free FE Civil Diagnostic at fecivilexamacademy.com gives you 56 questions and a breakdown by knowledge area, plus 2 full lessons from inside the course. No payment required. Link is in the description. Subscribe if you want the rest of this series. Next up, how to actually read the NCEES Reference Handbook.